All right. So, coming back to this, right? Some of the best people, coming back to the right choices to make, know how to make certain choices to create a little bit of self-agitation, right? We talked about this a little bit before, but I know this is, at least for me, when I'm just a little bit agitated, not too much, right? But when I'm just a little bit agitated, you usually kind of creates this like fight or flight response type of thing, right? Where your pupils are dilated and you're more energy, and you're basically, you're in this heightened state where you really feel like you can perform at a higher level. I know at least it is for me, and I've seen that over the years. And so sometimes the self-agitation comes from having a coach or a trainer as well. Being able to put yourself into that situation. A lot of kids quit playing sports, for example, because they don't like being pushed like that, right? So part of it's being able to push yourself, but then I'm trying to remember, what the exact quote is. There's this, awesome wrestling scene in it's the Dan Gable Competitor Supreme that was probably put out in like the 90s, and it's Tom and Terry Brands, and they're scrapping on the mat, and they cut away to a little interview. I think it's with Tom Brands, and he's sitting there and he's like, yeah, we're the best wrestlers, in the country, and we'd like to think that we could, push ourselves to be at the highest level. And then here comes along, Coach Gable, taking us to the next level and showing us really, what level we can achieve at, right? So, we can only push ourselves, to a certain level, and that's okay, sometimes, but you also can get, to a higher level by getting coaching and mentoring as well, right? So this idea that wellness is self-actualization, right? I love this quote, or this definition, that's what wellness really is, right? And wellness, we always think of it as like massages and all of these different, kind of passive modalities that, the foo-foo side of wellness, right? But, wellness is really this kind of psychological state, like I have here in this bullet point, right? It's purposeful momentum, right? Creating, a situation for yourself where you have momentum going in the right direction in these healthy, wellness and performance oriented, lifestyle changes that you make. It creates this momentum, so when you get into these situations where they are challenging and you have these choices to make, you're more likely to make a better choice, and you're more likely to stay well throughout the process, right? And this comes back to this idea of using your time effectively, and this 10 out of 10 principle, and sustaining, right? So wellness is, really the pursuit of self-actualization more than it is really just self-actualization. So right, I didn't have that word in here. So remember, it's really the pursuit of self-actualization. The question is do we really, self-actualize? So this leads us to, what we see in physical therapy, which is a true success process, right? For most people, and again, not everybody's going to have the same level of achievement, but being able to, come back from an injury, especially and return to play or return to sports after a huge injury, especially like an ACL tear or an Achilles tendon repair, the only way to go through that process and, be able to do that, the idea is you're really having true success as you go through that process and achieve that goal of getting back onto the field healthy without having a re-injury. To do that, it really, really takes this kind of disciplined goal setting, successful mindset of giving your best day in and day out and day in and day out for months and months and months at a time. And that's really the only way to, achieve success, is to do it, consistently over time, right? So and again, I keep saying this, but breaking down the idea behind success and achievement, right? Success is more like this, this condition, like I was saying, where, you may have achievement without success, right? You could always cheat and still get rewarded with a trophy, for example, right? But in the real definition of success, you wouldn't really call that success, right? And this is the difference to what, the real champion, right, is able to have achievement and success. The reason why the real champion is in that, finals match or in that finals competition or standing on the podium at the end of the tournament or the end of the competition is because they did the work that was necessary to get there. And they also, set these goals and were able to achieve them, and were able to perform at that level in that moment of time, right? And so that's one of the reasons why, achievement can be a little bit skewed, because it really comes back to having this accomplishment of goals in time, right? Which we're going to get into more. But just because you didn't accomplish your goal in the time frame that you set out doesn't necessarily mean it's a failure. It means it's time to reassess. In sports, it's tough because I come back to my senior year of wrestling. That was it, right? I didn't really have another year of Division II college wrestling. I could have moved on to something else and maybe started wrestling amateur, maybe went into MMA or something like that. But my time frame was up. And that in that scenario, you have this finite thing that you're racing and competing against to try to achieve these goals, and it can give you this sense of failure if you don't accomplish them. But you really have to look back and go, what did you do with your time? Did you give as much as you could? And even if you didn't, right, you can move forward, knowing the difference, right? And going, yeah, well, I only gave 80% of my effort. So, as I move forward, I need to keep working on giving 100%. And that when you went from 50 to 60 to 70 to 80%, that things got better, right? And you just need to keep getting better at this process. And then eventually, the next thing you need a telescope to look back to see who you were, because you've changed so much into this person that can consistently do this 10 out of 10 principle, right? So cybernetics,